posting a lot of weird stuff. So you're going to be able to see your own chat, and you're going to be able to see the chat from us.
And we are going to be able to see your questions,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah. Okay, we got a few 6s there. Give me a 5 if you are married or in a long-term relationship.
Give me a 3 if you think that I'm as bad looking as Charles has described me in his video. Still hurt over that. But this is so great. We're actually fully booked for this webinar, right?
Yeah. We had a long waiting list, actually. So that's really cool. So awesome. Congratulations on getting into this webinar.
And thank you guys for being here, for showing any interest in a strange guy from the Netherlands who you've never heard about before. That's always wonderful. I hope I will try my best to be as interesting and as entertaining as I possibly can be, even though I can't promise that part. But I will try to give you a ton of value in this presentation, like actionable content you can use straight away. After this presentation, we're not only going to be speaking about the 6 incredibly stupid relationship mistakes, but we're also going to be speaking about this 3-step formula that will help you to solve pretty much any problem you're having in your relationship right now. And we're going to deliver that to you for free because, why?
Because you're my friend and you do me favors.
That's true. All right, I think we can get started on the presentation.
All right, awesome. Let's do this. So, as I said, this webinar is on the 6 incredibly stupid mistakes that men are making that are ruining their relationships with women, and they're not even realizing it. And of course, how to avoid them. By the end of this webinar, you are going to know exactly how to turn any woman into your dream woman. A woman who loves you, who adores you, who is eager to please you, a woman who doesn't complain, who doesn't nag, who isn't creating drama all the time. And you're going to learn how to do this without having to compromise, without having to kiss her ass all the time, and without having to be mean to her. Now, that might sound too good to be true at the moment, but what you need to understand is that this stuff has been developed by Tim already, and it has been tested by hundreds of guys in the real world. This isn't theory. This was tested and refined in the real world. It really works. And we are going to teach that to you now. But before we teach it to you, I want to show you a little clip. Let me just find it. We are new to this software. Okay.
We brought Norbert and Jason together to share their stories.
I've been separated for 3 years. I have 4 kids, and I only see them 2 hours every 2 weeks. I'm trying to get to see them more often, but I can't fight in court. I don't have any money, so the minute I got separated, I pretty much lost my kid. I didn't have enough money to rent an apartment.
Jason lost his house, his car, his job, and his ties to his church to move closer to his children.
Basically, it was my bed before I found the trailer, so it was a bit small.
Okay, so I didn't show you that clip to scare you. I want you to know what is at stake here. The fact is that 50% of marriages now end in divorce, but it's worse than that because for second marriages, 67% end in divorce. And then third marriages, 74% end in divorce. Think about that. Men are not learning. Why is that? Well, apart from many cultural reasons, there's one big problem. We men were never taught the truth about relationships. We never had a class on how to have a successful marriage or how to have a long-term relationship. So men were never taught how to deal with women. So they just had to follow examples. And what are the examples that men have to follow? A bunch of other clueless men who know as little as they do. It's this massive circle jerk of the blind leading the blind. But it's actually worse than that because pop culture, mainstream media is totally rigged against you. You have actually been the victim of a misinformation campaign of epic proportions. I mean, Putin would be proud. There is one place that men do get advice on relationships, and that is pop culture and TV. And what does TV teach men about relationships?
Look, it didn't bother me that you saw Nancy naked. I just don't understand why you didn't tell me about it.
Nancy didn't think it would be a good idea.
And so that's why she was the one that brought it up at dinner.
She's a very complicated woman.
Admit it, you didn't tell me about it because you liked what you saw.
I didn't like it. Didn't hate it.
You liked what you saw and you felt a little guilty about it.
No, I felt real guilty about it.
That's good. It proves one thing, I've trained you well. And even though it was an accident, you feel guilty. That's good, I like it.
This is pathetic. Because of you, I can't even enjoy the sight of another naked woman.
That is the nicest thing you ever said to me.
Well, I meant every word of it. You know what else?
What?
I don't even remember what she looked like.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it.
Why is everything different?
Bye.
Well, I don't see anything different other than the fact that the room got so much brighter when you came into it.
Well, the end table is wrong. The couch looks bizarre, and don't even get me started on the refrigerator magnets.
Okay, look, don't be mad, okay? But after I unpack the boxes, I want to do something nice for you. So I cleaned the apartment. So I moved everything around, and then I forgot where it went back. And I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, so relationships on TV, they teach you that relationships come with a price tag. That you can have sex every now and then for the measly price of your manhood. That you'll be the loyal helper of your brilliant wife that holds all the cards. Think about how many times you've been bombarded with the image of a man losing his manhood once he enters into a relationship. The man is always portrayed as a chump and the woman as the one who wears the pants. Now, I don't think this is like some conspiracy. I think it's just done to be funny. But the sad thing is that, like little boys these days, they learn about sex through porn. People are imitating the relationships they see on TV. And it's causing both men and women to be miserable. Because this is what happens, right? You meet a woman, you fall in love. Everything is great. You love her, she loves you, she adores you, she dresses up for you, you have wild sex all the time, she looks good for you, she works out and stays in good shape. Everything's perfect. And then after the appropriate amount of courtship, she wants some commitment from you. And you, being the good guy that you are, you give her that commitment. You think it's going to make her happy. And it does make her happy at first, but soon she is less happy and she wants more and more from you. Her standards have changed. It's like once you made that commitment, you signed up for this long list of chores that you had no idea about. And if you don't live up to that new standard, there's going to be drama. It was like in the beginning, she treated you like a king. Now, it's like you're playing football with a referee who, every time you think you've got the rules figured out, he changes those rules. And what do you get for putting in all that effort? You get less sex and more complaints. Your lady still has those gym shoes, but she's not using them for their intended purpose anymore. She's wearing them on dates with you. You do everything in your power to make her happy. And she keeps finding new ways to be unhappy. But there is a way that you can make her happy again. and she dangles it in front of you like a carrot. All you have to do is buy an overpriced rock and sign a contract handing away half of everything that's in your name. Oh, and once you've done that, once you have signed that contract, you'll find that she never really enjoyed giving you blowjobs. She just did that while you were dating to keep you happy. So if that sounds familiar to you, please type a 6 into the comment box now. I'll wait. Okay, I don't need to wait very long. We got a flood of 6s coming in there. But do not worry. Although you may feel like your relationship is the Titanic now, heading towards that iceberg, it doesn't need to be that way. What do you need to do to avoid that iceberg? All you need to do is sit through this webinar now. Listen to what me and Tim have to tell you and follow the advice, and you're going to be okay. So who are we? Well, you know me, I'm sure. If you're watching this webinar, you know me. I'm Charles Black from donofdesire.com. I've helped hundreds of thousands of guys through YouTube so far to improve their sex lives, and I've helped thousands of guys to improve their sex lives and their relationships through my books, The Don of Desire Method and Dirty Talk Mastery. But what I'm very excited about is for you to meet the man, the legend sitting next to me, and that is Tim Veninga. If you've watched some of my videos recently, you'll have heard me introduce Tim. So I've said some nice things and some not so nice things. But you must understand that this guy is the top relationship coach in the Netherlands for both men and for women. This guy is the reason that Don of Desire existed. This guy has taught me more than anyone in my life. I get a lot of emails coming in every day asking about relationship problems, and I reply to as many as I can. But you need to understand that while I'm good at this stuff, I know a lot, this guy is the guy I go to when I have problems. And this guy is a wizard, right? I could be of having a problem in a relationship that has lasted a month and I'm banging my head against the wall. I can't think of the solution. Then I'll get on the phone to Tim. I'll lay out my problem. And like that, he's like, oh, you just do this. Without a doubt, every single time, it's like, oh yeah, I just apply what he tells me. Problem solved every single time.
And I always make you feel really stupid in the process. I make sure of that.
Right. So that's enough bigging up Tim from me. I'll allow him to introduce himself.
Hi guys, my name is Tim Veninga. Thank you guys all for joining again. I will give you a short introduction about who I am, and I will give you a little bit of an explanation like how I became whatever it is that I became. I'm a dating coach. I was born in a small town in the north of the Netherlands. I've been a dating coach pretty much my entire life. I never really had anything else going for me. I never really had a standard career, if you want. I've been doing this work for roughly 13 years. I've worked with over like 10,000 guys in like personally coaching them in dealing with women, how to pick up women, how to have relationships with women, how to deal with the problems that come with that. And at the same time, I also work with women. And I've worked with, right now, I think roughly like 15,000 women, and I teach women how to tell to guys. So I'm in this like hilarious position where like in the morning, I'm telling guys like how to like trick women into sleeping with them. And like in the afternoon, I'm telling women how to trick guys into going for a commitment. Because sadly enough, I found that the world actually is very traditional like that. And I found it very interesting. But for me, it's like I'm playing sort of like I'm being around a poker game, and there are people at a poker table, and first I stand on the female sides, and then I tell to the guys like what's on their cards, and then I go over to the other side, and then I tell the guys what's in the women's card. And this gave me a rather fun and unique perspective on relationships. But one of the main questions I think I should ask, because this is the question you guys are going to have when I'm going to tell you what I'm about to tell you, and I want to get it out of the way. Like, what happens to a human being that he becomes a dating coach? Like, how does this even happen? And I've thought about the question like a lot of times, and I didn't really get a satisfying answer. But one of the most satisfying answers I gave myself, like apart from the fact that probably a lot of it had a lot to do with the fact that I like women. I like women a lot. I like to have sex with a lot of women. I think like every red-blooded man, I enjoy the company of them. And I wanted to sleep with as much of them, and I wanted to find out as much information about them to be able to do that. But there's one like specific moment I can pinpoint for myself, and I'll give you the short version of the story. I promise you it's not going to be some sort of a therapy session, but I want you to understand how we ended up here. Like, how do you ended up being in this webinar, and how do I ended up on the other side of this? And I remember I was like 9, sitting in a psychiatrist's office. My parents brought me there. It's like my mom was sitting on my left side, my father was sitting on my right side. And the reason I was at this psychiatrist's office was because the psychiatrist was running a support group for pretty much weird kids. And I was a fucking weird kid. I'm sort of giving you guys the postmortem of one of the most fucked up minds you'll ever meet. But like, I was a pretty weird kid. Like, I was sick as a kid all the time. I was only interested in books. I was diagnosed with a high IQ. Like, having a high IQ is like cool, but at a certain level, it becomes more like a diagnosis than like an accomplishment, I think. And my parents tried to like solve this problem. And like, my mom was sitting on one side, and she was telling everything that was fucked up with me. I was sitting in the middle, and all I just wanted was get out of this support group, because you put 10 like socially awkward kids in a room together, it's not going to be a pretty sight to see. And my father is sitting on the other side, and my father says at one point to the doctor, he's like, yeah, I don't even know if there's anything wrong with him. Like, the only time like I see him is like when we go like on a fun trip, and like I once took him on like a kayaking trip, and he was like super obsessed with fishing. It's like, well, that's not really a defense, but he was defending me, and it's like, and there was like girls at the camping site, and they all of a sudden they were like hanging around him, and they sort of liked him, and like then like one of the moms told me like, yeah, my daughter never wants to wear a skirt, but all of a sudden she wants, and I think it was because she wanted to like flirt with Tim. He used a different word. In Dutch we have a different word for it, and I didn't even understand what the word meant, but I sort of meant that this was a defense for being normal. And I think that's where it all just went off the rails. It's like, apparently, as soon as I get attention from girls, I am being normal. And that whole idea sort of stuck with me. And I guess that's how the whole thing got started. And once I was like pretty much in my late teens, I was like super obsessed with, I wanted to get as much girls. I think every boy is obsessed. It's just, if you're like a sociopath, you get like more methodical about it. And I got super like interested in, I was like reading like every psychology book I could find. I got like guys to like hang this like first like MP3 players, I think it was, like these ones that were like hanging with a rope around your neck. You remember that stuff? Like, I had one of those with a recorder, and then I would hang around a guy's neck, and I was like, yeah, you always make these funny jokes. I want to like write them down for the school paper. But in reality, I just wanted to hear what he was saying to girls. And this is a normal phase. Every teenage boy goes through the most elaborate schemes and fantasies of what it's like to be laid, what it's like to be attractive to women, and like how to get laid. And most men go for like the easy answers, which is like being good looking, or buying a bigger car, or getting more money, or getting more status, or if you're a musician, you need to be famous. And like, you all have this idea, like, once this will happen, then I will get all the girls. But I took a little bit more of a straight line approach to it. Since then, I think after that, in the 10 years in a row, I went out, like, as soon as I was allowed to go party, I went out like 300 nights a year, like at least 200 like in the beginning, and later on, as soon as it became a full-time career, I was pretty much like going out to nightclubs, going up like to strange women and trying to convince them that I was an attractive man. And I did that, and I decided at one point, like, I'm going to make a career out of this. Not because I felt like, oh, I feel so sorry for this other guy not getting laid. To be fair, I give very little about the well-being of other human beings. But I was like, well, if I can make a career out of this, I can at least like make some money and I don't have to work. And there were a few steps in between, but I'm trying to like run quickly through the story so you have like a little bit of an idea of what it was like. And I started like sort of working with guys, started coaching guys. And in the beginning, it was like in exchange for like a case of beer, which is like $1 million when you're like 18 years old. And soon that sort of got out of hand and it turned into like a company, and I ended up like writing a book and going into the media, and I sort of became this dating coach. And once I sort of started working with the guys, and I sort of became famous for that. And this is, interestingly enough, at the same time, I know there were sort of like groups of guys that were sort of teaching guys how to pick up girls, but these were like very few people. And like, I was already sort of making a career out of it before there were like this real, like this pickup guys or these guys who sell this like pseudo-intellectual misogyny as dating courses or anything, like the guys who go up, like these super creepy guys who go up on YouTube to strange women and do the most rapey stuff like that. Like I've never been that type of a guy. And like, I did hang around in those circles for a little while, but I just realized those were like, by any standard, inferior human beings. Just not even compared to me, but just compared to the random guy walking down the street. So I knew that was there, but that never really became a part of my career. So to do this as a dating coach, sort of, I felt like, well, I have to like keep working on my craft and my art, and I really believed in that as well. Like I wanted to go out every night, and like people say it's a shallow, meaningless lifestyle to like go out and party, have one night stands. So people can say that, but all I know is I was having like quite a lot of fun while doing it, and I never felt it was anything hollow or meaningless. But I did long for a connection like any other human being, so I wanted to have a relationship. And that's how this whole thing we're speaking about, that's how this whole thing sort of got created. I met girls, I fell in love with them, and I wanted to have a relationship with them. But if I would do that, then it sort of would end my career and my livelihood, and the only thing I ever done, because along the way I destroyed any sort of bridge I could have for having a normal career and my school and whatever. So all I knew was being a dating coach. So I had to be able to like go out and sleep with girls. So I wanted to sort of invent a method to have a relationship and then convince this woman into allowing me to sleep with other girls. And I wasn't really aware with the concept of like open relationships or anything, but I was just felt like, well, if I can convince her to believe in that, then everything's going to be great. So I started working on that stuff, and I started actively trying to find ways to sort of make women do whatever I want. And then I wanted for you to understand that it was like from a desire for like power. And once I started to be able to do this, once I started to be able to like get women to accept that I was also going out and having one night stands, then was like, how about I try to convince you that I can also have another girlfriend? And then I was like, what if I try to convince them to clean my house? What if I try to convince them to buy new clothes? And I got like super power hungry at it, and I just started to like create all these what ifs and then trying to find these methods. And what I've learned, like while doing my research, I found like some pretty old papers about behavioral modification in rats, and I just took that. I was like, well, let's give it a go. You know, it might work, and it ended up working. And I went even that far that I started to like get women to tattoo their names on my body. That's sort of that's like the high point of like my power hungry streak with this, and this is how far I went. And all I did with this was sort of, I did this pretty much for like personal gain and like being as egoistic about it as any human being possibly could. But then I realized like, oh, look, I'm dealing with like all these male clients, and all these male clients, people go to like a dating coach to learn them how to flirt, but they all end up in a relationship eventually. And they tell me this story which you like so vividly painted at the beginning of this webinar. I heard this story over and over and over again for guys. And I just realized like, wait, if I can use this shit to, excuse me, I was not supposed to curse in this webinar. I'm surprised I actually made it this far. But if I can use this to get a woman to like tattoo my name on her body, other guys can use it to at least have like a normal relationship, like you can get a woman to like stop complaining about leaving an open bottle of Coke in the fridge, or you can get a woman to at least keep putting in effort into the relationship, or to dress up nicer, or to simply have a better relationship where she's not complaining all the time, where she's not nagging all the time. It's like, I realized like, oh my God, like all these poor guys, I was looking at them from an outside perspective, and my thought was like, why are these dumb guys getting into a relationship? Because you see what happens. And then I realized, oh, but it doesn't have to happen to them. If I can show to them what you can do about this, they will not have to get into this cycle of a woman who's super attractive and super in love with you in the beginning, to a woman who has like short hair, 10 kilos too much, and tells you you're a loser all the time, and is like dominant, makes all the decisions in the relationship, and still ends up like cheating on a guy, and still ends up like not loving a guy, or falling for another guy, or leaving a man, and taking his kids, and all the tragedy and stuff that comes with that. Is it doesn't have to be like that. So that's why I created this formula, which I'm going to be talking about soon. But before we do it, I realized that in my job as a dating coach, one of the biggest improvements a guy can make is to stop doing stupid things. It's pretty much if you can like just sort of plug the biggest holes that are creating all this chaos and disaster, then you're already like 99% better than most guys. Because the mistakes I'm going to be talking about are made by like almost every guy, or at least 4 or 5 of them. And I want you to stop making those mistakes. And I will sort of plug that holes first, so we get that out of the way. And then we're going to get into the really fun and really tricky stuff. Let's move on to the next slide. This is the mistake number 1. The mistake number 1 that most guys make is forcing a woman's contempt for him. In the beginning, when a woman meets you, she respects you, and along the line, guys are doing things that make a woman disrespect you. And it becomes a little bit less, she respects you a little bit less, and at the end of the line, you're going to end up at contempt. Like if anybody has been in a relationship where, like at the end of the relationship, you're wondering like, does this woman like even like me? Because she seems to like be annoyed by my mere presence sometimes. That is because she probably is. The ways guys do this, the way guys lose respect from their partners is, one, is allowing this typical ball-busting behavior. Like we showed this clips from these sitcoms earlier. That's what women also have been told that relationships are going to be like. So they sort of think that it's funny to act like she wears the pants in the house. Like she might say something like at birthday parties, like, "Oh my God, like my guy is like so messy. It's like he's horrible," and they will make fun of you and they will belittle you. And you know, women, especially when women get together, they can make fun of you. But also personally in the relationship, when women are constantly sort of trying to fight a little bit of an ego battle with you, and they're winning this battle all the time. Well, if you allow a woman to do that, if you allow a woman to like disrespect you, like to your face, make fun of you, belittle you, then what she's going to believe, even though it started as a joke, even though you actually sort of liked it a bit, that it was like a bit of a banter back and forth, and you like that the woman is not this nice, sweet woman who says yes to everything you do. What happens after a while, she feels like, oh, I can treat you this way. That's probably because you are less than me. And then the second thing guys do is they have a tendency to not be the leader in a relationship. And I don't mean this in a sort of 50s style way, like you should be the man of the house and you should make a living and she better do what you tell her. Like, I don't mean it in that way at all. What I mean is that women like ignore everything sort of you've been told in pop culture, ignore sort of the feminist like brainwashing structure you went through like in school. Women still love a partner that's like strong, reliable, and that's a leader. Like women are very like emotional creatures, and women just like a partner to solve problems for them. I'll give you an example. Say your kids are having a problem at school, and the principal from the school calls and says like, well, we keep having problems with your kid, like he's not paying attention in class and he's not doing his best for it. And the woman answers the phone, and then she talks to you and she says like, okay, we got a call from the school and this is what's going on. And at that point, you as a man feel like, oh, I have to think about this. It's very, very common behavior for men. Like when there's a problem, most men have a tendency to sort of get silent about it, to think about a solution, then talk about it. The problem is what your wife's in front of you and she wants to talk about it at this specific point. Now you're going to be like, sort of like, yeah, I don't know, that's difficult. You get silent and you're going to think about it. And you're like, oh, I will come later with a solution. Now at this point, you are not helping her with emotional stress that's causing her because she wants to talk about it. 2, she thinks you don't care because you're like sort of silent. 3, she thinks you can't solve the problem. And now she's trying to come up with her own solution to the problem. And every time this happens, she's going to think, this man is useless. And the respect will dwindle away. And the same thing happens for any sort of problem that she's asking you help with, and you're not solving it or giving her a way to the solution, or you're like not right there being the man in the relationship, like making the choice. And this can be as little from where you're going to sit in a restaurant to as something as big as like which one of the 2 houses you are going to buy. And in the end, she wants you to be a leader. And if you're not going to be a leader, you think maybe because in the short term it makes you happy, or you don't give something about what house you're going to buy. And at one point, you're like sort of being like, well, I don't know, whatever makes you happy. Like this typical man that says like, happy wife, happy life. Like, you know, like as long as I let her do what she wants, she's fine. What happens is she will start to slowly think like, why am I even having you in my life? Why are you here? And she will slowly adopt you as a kid, as like apart from the other kids she already has. And she starts to treat you this way, which will kill any sort of like attraction in a relationship. Which brings us to the next point. Can you put up the next slide? 2, men have a tendency to being the blind man with his hands behind his back in a relationship. What do I mean with this? They're going through the relationship like pretty much like they are a blind guy and they're walking through a room, but they're holding their hands behind their back. In other words, they're only like, once their nose is bleeding, they know there was a hole or they know there is a problem. Most guys have a tendency to do this in relationships. They're not trying to spot problems. They're not trying to figure out what is going wrong in the relationship. Like if, for example, they start thinking about like, hey, this might be a problem once they didn't have sex for like 6 weeks. So only at that point, once it became like a real problem, then they start to notice it. Or they start to notice like, maybe I should become a better husband at the point where your wife is saying like, I am going to leave you and take the kids with me. Pretty much men have a tendency to be like, well, as long as nothing bad's happening, that means it's going great. And the problem with this is like, if you're not get like proactive with working on your relationship, if you're not trying to solve problems, but you're only trying to solve them when they're really big, you're going to have like huge problems and huge drama all the time. And it just goes even down to like the littlest of situations you can possibly think of. Like a woman comes back from a rough day at work, and she walks in, and she's going to talk to you she's going to talk to you about this day. And most men are sort of like, oh, I had a long day, and like, why do you need so much words to say like I had a bad day? Why are you doing this? And men are not listening to her. And when this happens is when a woman is doing this, and the reason women like talk about stuff that happened to them, and the reason she's going to tell you what she had for lunch and if it tasted good or not, and she tells you all this information that you might find irrelevant and it's hard to pay attention to. So if you're then going to be like sit there, half listen, then for a woman she feels like, oh, I can't connect with you, because that's what she's doing. She's connecting through communication. So you're sort of going to half listen, and she realized this. She noticed this, she feels this. So she's going to keep on talking, trying to get something out of you, trying to get some response, trying to get at least the feeling that you care about what you have to say. And if you feel like, oh, he doesn't care, maybe I should tell more, she will end up like talking to you the entire evening, and she just tries to like get as much information out of there, and you get like super frustrated, and in the end you're like, please shut up, like stop talking, you're driving me crazy, why do you need to talk all this time? Now you're having a huge fight. The solution to that problem would be to not be the blind man with his hands behind his back, but instead go around, and if she comes back, say something like, oh my God, like you look a bit tired, what happened at work? And now you're going to look her in the eye, and you're going to listen, and you're going to ask questions about what she's telling. If you're going to sort of show her that you care. And you do this every day for 20 minutes after she comes back from work. The first week she will need this 20 minutes, but a week later it will be probably 10 or 5. Because the only reason she's communicating is because she wants to feel this connection. If she feels that it's always there, that you're listening to her, then all of a sudden, like she doesn't find the need to like over communicate to you all the time, and everybody's going to be happier, because even if she's talking for 4 hours and you're half listening, she's not going to be interested in it. So what you want to do in your relationship is all the time trying to see if there are problems. A very simple thing you can do is just once every month, just ask her like, hey, is there anything I can do to be a better husband? Or could you maybe make a list for me of like, with everything that's, that I could improve on as a partner? And she will give you this information. You will get the exact roadmap, some sort of a manual to your partner. And she also feels like, oh, at least he's trying. And then if you're failing, she knows that you're trying. And very often women are not bothered by a man failing. They're bothered by a man not trying. And your life is going to be so much better. And maybe if you ask this now, after like being married for like 15, 20 years, she got a long list ready. Maybe she already has like a copy in a drawer somewhere that she can hand it to you. It's like half the pros and cons list of leaving you. But in the beginning, that list will be long, but that list will get like easily shortened. And especially when you start actively asking questions and trying to get ahead of it. So never be the blind man with his hands behind his back, because sooner or later you're going to hit a wall and your nose is going to freaking hurt. Let's go on to the next one. 3, falling for the cheating suggestion trap. This is a very typical man thing, and this is especially for men who are afraid that their girlfriends or wives might cheat on them with somebody else. This can happen, like especially if you had like a couple of bad experiences in relationships, or just one really bad one that left you like a little bit traumatized, and you sort of start to get like maybe a bit overly jealous, and you get like really suspicious and paranoid, and you're worried about her cheating on you. That's really normal. Every man has that. Every man is worried about their partner cheating on you. Like no man loves the sound of like, I will have drinks with my male coworker, or the sound of like, oh, there's such a great new guy at work, or things like that. Every man hates them. But one of the big mistakes men do, which actually drives women to cheat on you, even if she would have never cheated on you, even if she would be the most loyal, conservative, God-fearing woman that would like not even think about cheating. If you want to make her cheat, there's one way to do it, and guys keep doing this over and over again. And then they say afterwards, like, all women cheat on me, and like, why are all women cheaters, and nobody can be loyal, and like, monogamy is a scam, and they get like crazy about this. But the reality is, this is what the cheating suggestion trap is, and here is how you do it. You're going to get like super paranoid about her cheating on you, and you're going to ask her questions about like, hey, you have been working overtime a lot lately with this new male coworker. Like, what's that about? Like, do you find him attractive? Do you think he finds you attractive? Or why is this man texting you at in the middle of the night at like 12 o'clock? Like, why do you think he's doing that? And you have to understand, sort of, most men know what scumbags most men are. But women somehow haven't figured it out. They're like pretty naive. Like, she can be like, well, he just had to ask me a question. It was 12 o'clock and he sent me a text straight away. What's the problem with that? So in her head, she might not even be thinking about cheating with this male coworker. She might not even be thinking about cheating with the guy sending her the late night text. It was never in her brain. But then once you start asking these questions, like, do you find him attractive? Do you think he likes you? Like, can I trust this relationship between the two of you guys? Now, all of a sudden, you put all these little suggestions in her head. All of a sudden, you paint the picture in her head of having like sex with a guy. She might have a dream about it the same night, simply because you created this illusion. It's like when you go up to like one of your friends, you'd be like, oh yeah, so you have the iPhone 10, whatever. Are you going to buy the new iPhone when it comes out? Well, at that point, your friend's going to get online and see what this phone's all about, even though before he didn't even think of the existence of the phone, and it was never going to happen. So what you do is sort of, you put the suggestions slowly in the other person's head. And then if you want to give it like a turbocharge, what you're going to do is you're going to like distrust her all the time. Now, at this point, there's something you have to understand about the psychology of a woman. Like, women tend to date up. And what I mean with they tend to date up, when it comes to like IQ, when it comes to like money, when it comes to looks, sometimes they sort of want a partner that they perceive as a little bit out of their league. Doesn't have to be that way. I know a lot of like wonderful women with like miserable partners, but in their head, they want a partner that's like a bit better than them, like a bargain, a steal that she just happened to get lucky with finding this man. And as soon as a woman feels like, why is this man so afraid of leaving me? Oh, maybe because he knows I can get better. Can I get better? Maybe he's not as high of a value partner as I thought in the first place. So now all of a sudden, she might be like, well, maybe I can do better than this guy that I'm currently with. And then to top it off, like as the cherry on top, if you're going to be paranoid, and if you're going to like check her phone all the time, if push comes to shove, she's not going to be too afraid of cheating. She's not going to be afraid of like betraying your trust. She's not going to be afraid of losing it because she didn't have it in the first place. After all, you were checking her phone, etc., etc. So now you got the perfect recipe, sort of the perfect storm type of situation where a normal woman who would have never cheated in her entire life all of a sudden do this. And I've seen this happen over and over again. Like, I really know, like with my female clients who tell me the story over and over again of like, I was never going to do it, but then I had to. And maybe some of them are trying to sort of exculpate themselves for their bad behavior. I think that's probably true. But I've heard the story way too many times to know that women are like normal women who would have never cheated, who never cheated before, will never cheat again, will cheat as soon as you create this recipe. Let's get on to the next one. 4, thinking relationships are difficult. When people speak about relationships, and most relationships are like failures of people who are just following their gut instinct, or which is sort of code language for just doing something random, like throwing something at a wall and hope something sticks. A lot of people have these horrible relationships, and they sort of talk about this like, well, it's supposed to be like this. Relationships are supposed to be difficult. Relations are supposed to be about compromise. Like in every good relationship, you have a big fight every once in a while. And this is a clear lie. Like bad relationships are difficult. Good relationships are not difficult at all. If you do it right, you're not going to have huge fights all the time. You're not going to have this struggle and this tension and like all this nonsense. Like the stuff where people talk about like, having a fight once a month, that's no problem. That's supposed to be it. So don't believe in this. A good relationship will go easy. Let's say, for example, being a good partner. People always think like being a good husband is like a lot of work. Look, it's a bunch of nonsense. Like if you're, for example, coming from work and on the way at the gas station, you pick up a piece of chocolate you see lying there, which you know that happens to be your favorite chocolate. That literally costs you like 5 seconds and $1, and you already made her day. And the chances of you getting in a fight later that night are like almost zero. Like, because she feels good about you, and the one thing she was bothered about, like she wanted to complain about you not mixing the laundries by colors properly, and you come to the front door and you give her a piece of chocolate, and this complaint of the not mixing the laundry properly is going to be gone. Like if you're like laying in bed like late at night and she says like, I'm thirsty, you can get up, walk to the kitchen, grab a glass of water, bring it to her. Let's say it's 30 seconds. If you have like a big mansion like mine, then it's like 45 seconds, but that's how far sort of you can end up with. And all these things cost like zero effort, and doing all the small right things that might cost you like 5 minutes a day will stop all the horrible bad things. And the other problem is like if you buy into this belief, and I see a lot of guys buying into this belief, they think the fights are part of a relationship. They think the drama is part of a relationship. They think it's normal a woman gains weight after marriage. They think it's sort of normal that a woman is like behaving in the way she's behaving. But you're not going to try to fix it. If you're going to have like a huge fight, fixing it, you're not fixing it. You're going to have this huge fight for the rest of your life with your same woman. Like especially if you believe, and I think that's what I believe, is like you should go into every relationship thinking it's the last relationship you're ever going to have. You want to solve these problems, and if you solve the problems like right now, they won't be a big problem in the future. Let's go on to the next one. 5, not fighting the devaluation of attraction. What does this mean? The devaluation of attraction is one of the most typical things, like at the start of the romantic engagement, when like a woman meets you, she might be like a little bit interested, and she might think like, oh, I find this man attractive. And then you get to the point, like right before she has you. Like probably it's like the millisecond before the first kiss, or it's like the millisecond sort of before she thinks you might commit to her. Like right before that, that's when she's the most attractive to you. That's when she can't think of anything. She craves you. She wants the most sex with you. She wants everything about it. She's like super attractive to you in any sort of physical, but also like mental way. But a small second after that, it immediately drops. It's like when you go to the store, say you are going to buy this iPhone, and you go to the store and you pick it up. As soon as you sort of pay at the register and walk out of the store, it's already less worth. And it's only going to get less worth over time. And that's the thing with attraction, is it's becoming less and less. It's like, I'll give the most typical explanation for, I think that most guys will understand. It's like, let's think about pornography. There's an insane amount of pornography out there. It's like the amount of pornography is like unbelievable. Like you can sit on the couch and have a good time for like 10 lifetimes in a row and still like not even getting close to what having watched all of this. And the reason is because arousal needs new. And it doesn't mean necessarily that with arousal you need more. Like for example, if you have like an alcohol addiction, you always like sort of need more because your tolerance goes higher. And with arousal, people have that a little bit, but it's mainly you need new and different and unique all the time. And that's how we ended up with this like huge catalog. And what you have to understand for your partner is like the arousal, the first time you're going to go with her to bed a certain way, it's going to be amazing. The second time, it's going to be a little bit less exciting than the first time, but it might be a bit better because you understand a little bit better what to do with each other and everything. But very soon, if you do the same thing with a woman, she's going to be less attracted to you. And this is going not only for the physical aspect, this also is going to be for the mental aspect, where if you go out and you come back from work and you bring her like a bouquet of flowers, like she's going to be over the moon, especially if you haven't done that for a long time. But then if the next day you come back with a bouquet of flowers, it will be less special. And after 5 days, you're like, why is this not working anymore? Because it works the first day. And a lot of guys are doing this in their relationship. They're like trying to like copy paste a certain formula for that seemed to have worked in the past and trying to do this over and over again. You talk about it a lot in your books when it comes about the physical stuff. But what I speak about is like you want to sort of always give your partner new sides of you. Like pretty much wake up every single day with the idea like, okay, how am I going to like impress her today? What new thing can I do? And very often it are very tiny little things you can do. It's like you can sort of think like, oh, I'm this great husband, I'm this great partner, I work 80 hours a week, I make a great living, I got the college fund for my kids set up, I go like crazy with the work, and like I'm killing it, like I'm doing it great. And at that point, your partner might feel unloved, unwanted, and you even like have to be grateful that she's like not sleeping with a neighbor at the time. Like it can be, it sounds in this situation, like you can be like, well, I'm paying for your car. Doesn't that show that I care about you? But for a woman, it doesn't. It did the first time when you were standing at the altar and you're like, I'm going to take care of you. And it did maybe the first time you moved into the new house you built for the family. But the next day, this is going to be worthless. So you have to prove it over and over again. Maybe she doesn't care about you working this much hours, and maybe coming home an evening early is the thing. Maybe she's more impressed by a little post-it note on the mirror in the morning saying she's beautiful than she would be by buying her like a whole like empty feet cribs type of parking lot full of cars. It all the time. It has to be something new. And if you're not actively fighting this devaluation, her attraction for you goes down, down, down. And a lot of guys actually, what they do is in the beginning, when they meet a woman, they're like also like trying like really hard to impress her and trying to like woo her, and they're like trying to come up with like clever and funny ways to respond to the text messages that she sends you. And then once they're like in a relationship, they sort of stop doing that and they try to like copy paste the formula from before. And then like this, yeah, it's actually pretty dumb when you think about it. Like, well, why isn't she putting in any effort anymore? Why doesn't she want to sleep with me anymore? Because you pretty much, look, what is happening? Well, it's probably because you didn't fought this devaluation of attraction to the fullest. All right, we're going to the sixth and last mistake. And this is forcing her into like sort of a self-built sexual prison. Like most women live in a sexual prison. And what I mean with that is that there are limits. And this is a completely self-built prison. This is completely imaginary, but there's sort of certain things that she thinks are like fun and sexy to do, and other things are taboo or too kinky or too pervy, and she would never do this. And what you have to understand, like if we guys, if we are already like too scared to come across as a pervert, like when like husbands, for example, are afraid to even ask their partner about using a different entrance or about a threesome or maybe wear a schoolgirl uniform every once in a while. Like even we as men are already afraid of like saying something to her that will like put her off or freak her out. Well, imagine that and do that times 1,000 for women because women have been like simply by society sort of kept in check with their sexuality. Like women, like the judgment for a promiscuous woman is just enormous. Like if I say like I slept with 1,000+ women, I get some sort of a strange respect for people even, or like some people are also like a little bit weirded out, but like it's fine. If a woman would be sitting here, you would be like, ugh, like, and even I have the exact same thing. And women have to deal with this type of judgment their entire life. And women also sort of keeping each other in check, like maybe even harsher than men do, because they don't want to devalue like the value of sex in the relationship marketplace. How clinical of a way to explain it is, it's 100% true. So your partner is going to sort of pretend to be a lot less kinky than she actually is. And she does this in the beginning of the relationship. She sort of says like, no, I would never do something like that. Or like, no, it's like I'm not into like trying anal, or I would never have a threesome. And that might be true at that time, but it's very well possible that she's actively lying to you, but sometimes even actively lying to herself, or at this time, her range is not this wide. The interesting part is if you see, I keep bringing up porn for some reason, but hey, we're on the internet, I think we're allowed. If you even see the statistics of like porn sites, the type of porn women watch is like a lot more extreme than the type of porn men watch. Like we can just watch sort of very bland vanilla stuff and be like super aroused by that, where women have like a way bigger imagination, and they have like a lot of depth to like what they can sexually explore in their own mind. But partners are keeping their women in this prison. They do it, for example, by trying to like have a conversation about something. Like say you would like to try anal with your girlfriend, and you speak about this like, hey, how about we go try anal for a while? Now, her instinct, her reflex can be at this point, especially if she's like very inexperienced woman, or she had a very conservative like history or whatever, she might be like, like no way, I would never do something like that. And what happens at this point, once she says this, she now created this sort of rule for herself, and now she thinks this is the image I portray to him. And if people are passionate about anything, it's sort of trying to be as consistent as they possibly can be. So now she has said, I would never do this. Now, if she then does do it, she will break this image of the nice Virgin Mary that she was presenting in the beginning of the relationship, maybe just because she didn't want to scare you off. And then a guy would be like, well, how about like we do it on my birthday? Or what about if I use a lot of lube? Or like what if we just get you drunk before and try it then? And you keep at that point, you're forcing these women to like dig in more and more, like no. And after somebody said like publicly like no to somebody, going back from that is like extremely difficult. Like trying to like being inconsistent is something people struggle a lot with. And what will happen with a lot of women is that they've sort of set up like 10 of these rules, and a lot are like not as explicit as doing anal sex. A lot of them are sort of more like fake, like what do I think is acceptable here? And a woman can never get out of this range. Yeah, maybe when she meets a new man, like I bet you had this, like you heard this from women, like I never really gave blowjobs to my ex-boyfriend. It's like I really hated that. And she can be in that relationship for like 10 years. And then like on the first night with you, just get into it, because all of a sudden she's allowed to portray a new version of herself.
Yeah, but they don't even say like, I never gave my blowjobs to my ex. They would say, I hated it. And then now they're saying, I love it.
Because all of a sudden there's a whole new world opening up for her, and she feels she can do it with you. Women have this sort of desire to be a little bit less of a pervert than you are. So say she thinks like you're the type of guy that's like into like rough BDSM. She's like, yeah, maybe I might be willing to experiment with like being tied up once and some light spanking. Where if she thinks you're sort of if she's with another partner where she thinks like, oh, this is just a standard up and down guy, she's going to be limited by that. And as long as sort of you stay along the way, you're sort of breaking through the walls of this sexual prison, like really step by step, taking it really slowly. Like, for example, let's stick with the anal one for now. It's like really go to something little, like maybe tickle her asshole a little bit while you're like licking her vagina or something, or maybe introduce like a little toy or like a butt plug or a finger, and sort of slowly work through this. And you do this by leading her. So don't try to be a man and have like conversations about it. Don't try to like argue about it. Don't try to logically convince her like, all my exes, they really loved it. You just have to get like through it. It's like when you're like 13 and you're sort of take your first beer and it tastes horrible, but like if you just stick with it, it will become great. Like if you do that thing, it's never going to work. But if you're going to lead her and she feels confident in being led by you, and a lot of it has also to do with if you don't make these first 5 mistakes, she will trust you and she will be sure that you know what's right for her. Then all of a sudden she's willing to explore. And for a woman, like especially if she has been in a relationship before with another man, she has been in a relationship for 10 years with another man who wasn't like this. It's like it's such a relief. Like all of a sudden she feels like she's like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. That's the English title of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She feels like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, just unlimited possibilities that are all of a sudden like opening up for her, simply because she feels like you can lead her to it. And then slowly, step by step, never try to make a woman a big step, but slowly, step by step, you can break her free out of this prison, and her life is going to be so much better. All right, those were the 6 mistakes. If you cannot do these things, if you cannot do these 6 mistakes, you're going to have a better relationship than like 99% of most guys, because most men are making these mistakes, and most men, some even know sort of that they're making the mistake, but like laziness, or very often it's not having a plan. So it's like nice to be like, yeah, I could do this attentiveness thing. If you not make a schedule of doing it, you're going to stick with it for a week and you're going to give up on it. You have to make a plan. You need to have a structure. You need to have to know where you're going, and only like then you can sort of make sure you're not making this 6 mistakes. All right, which brings us to the 3-step formula. And the 3-step formula is the following. This is the formula you can use to create everything out of your relationship what you want. What we talked about until now is sort of how to get your relationship not to suck. And now we're going to speak about how to make it amazing. And this 3-step formula, forgive me for the horrible title, but it's like we created the Dream Girl formula like years ago, and this is how I called it, and this is what I'm going to keep calling it. And there are 3 simple things you have to do, and then you can create any relationship you want, how crazy you imagine it. I figure most of you guys are like normal, random man just trying to have a great relationship with a partner. Maybe there's like some weirdos out there who have some bigger desires. And even if it's like the big desire, or even if it's the small desire, you can get anything out of your relationship if you follow the following steps. Let's go to the next slide. First one is you have to create a clear understanding. This goes back to what I was just talking about having a plan. you have to create a clear understanding of what you want to get out of the relationship. And you want to write this down for yourself, and you can do this after the webinar. Just go think about it. You can think about it like right now if you want. What would your perfect relationship look like? You need a clear understanding of what you want it to look like. You need to sort of know where you're going, because if you don't know where you're going to like end up somewhere you don't want to be. Write down, how would you like her to dress? How would you like her to be in bed? What type of things would you like? How often do you want to have sex? How would you like her to behave? Would you like her to be respectful to you? How would you like her to act around your friends? How would you like her to handle conflicts and arguments? Do you want her to be wild and irrational or calm and understanding? Would you like a relationship that has arguments all the time? Would you like a relationship with a partner that's completely loyal to you? Would you like a relationship with the opposite, a partner that likes to go out to the type of parties Charles and his people go to? Like, what exactly do you want to get out of the relationship? Like, and also think about, what would you like the relationship to be for her? How do you want her to feel about the relationship? Do you want her to like admire you like a god, or do you want her to be a bit more level grounded with you? How would you like her to feel about her future? Like, do you want her to be a career woman who goes out has a crazy career, or do you want a partner that's at home and is being a great mom for the kids? Just get as clear as possible this image for yourself. And I know this might sound at this point almost like some sort of visualization exercise, but it has nothing to do with that. It's just, you need to set down a set of goals. And once you have a set of goals, then you can do then you can sort of do this 3-step formula, and you can actually sort of find a way to get there. And then the second thing is, she must feel amazing about the relationship. And this is so important, because maybe some of you guys are going to think, Tim, this all sounds highly manipulative or like highly tricky, or I don't want to like trick my woman into doing stuff. This just seems wrong, and this just seems evil. You might even spit out some meaningless platitudes like, well, I just want to be myself, and then I just want to follow my gut instinct, or I want things to happen automatically. The truth is, you are right now manipulating your partner. Everybody is. Sort of the behavior you are displaying right now is affecting her. In any way, like what you are doing will automatically get a response for her. So you're already like manipulating her into doing certain ways. So say, for example, if you do not do something around the house and your wife starts like nagging to you about this, and then you do it. Now, right now, you manipulated and tricked her into nagging. And the worst part about that is even that now every time she wants something, she needs to have this negative experience. If she's nagging all the time, it's because you manipulate her into nagging all the time, because that was the only thing you were responding to. So you basically manipulate her into being this, and you gave her like all these negative emotions, and that's 100% your fault. And this is what guys are doing all the time. They're manipulating their partners into becoming like unhappy, miserable, and sad. And if I then suggest like, how about you change your behavior into manipulating her like into something great, then they're like, well, I think I'm just going to stick with manipulating and making her feel unhappy because that's more moral or something. I don't even know sort of the mental gymnastics you have to make to get to that point. So you have to understand, at no point is this about abusing or tricking a woman into doing anything. If anything, which brings me to point number 2, she must feel amazing about the relationship. If a woman feels that she has an amazing relationship with an amazing partner, and she gets what she needs out of the relationship, the love, the satisfaction, if she feels she has a relationship where she can brag about to her friends, if she feels safe and she feels protected and attracted to the partner, and she feels like she's so lucky to be in this relationship, only then you're able to do any of the things on your list. You first need to sort of figure out that she feels great about the relationship, that she loves the relationship, because only then she will start to be willing to do certain things that will make you happy, and you can add those things into the mix. Because the interesting thing about people is all human beings are sort of keeping score, and that's one of the most human things to do. You notice like annoying partners who say like, yeah, we're not going to keep score, or we're not going to keep track about it, or these people who are like like, I think this is the funniest, when they're like priding themselves in a bar and they're like, yeah, I just give rounds to my friends and I'm not going to keep track of who's buying me drinks back. It's like, yeah, they do. Like, even though they're sort of saying like, oh, I'm not trying to track it, everybody keeps score. But we also have a sort of a balance towards fairness. And if she feels that like this balance where you're doing all these nice things for her, which might be, say, we're talking about like the getting the flowers, the putting the post-it note on there, the trying to make her feel happy, trying to do little things so she feels like beautiful and loved. If you do all those things, then she sort of feels like, oh, if you now ask her something like, hey, I really love it when you wear that dress you were wearing the other day. She feels like, oh, okay, this is a great chance, a great opportunity to settle the scores. And on a bigger scale in the relationship, if she sort of feels like, oh my God, my relationship is so great, she's going to like keep trying to put like more and more into it. Like, a lot of people think that that sort of situations are like separate. Like, men have a tendency to look at separate situations. So whenever there's a fight, they're sort of being like, what does me forgetting your mom's birthday have anything to do with like not mowing the lawn or something? But for a woman, those things are exactly the same. So if you get up in the middle of the night to grab this glass of water, that has everything to do with on a Thursday later, she gives you a back rub, if that's what you appreciate. All those things are connected with each other. If you mess up something around the house and she's like, oh, okay, like I forgive you, it's no problem. It probably had everything to do with the fact that you did remember her mom's birthday the week before and sent her some flowers. If you sent her some flowers at work, that has everything to do with whether she will give you a blowjob later that day. These things are all the same thing. So as soon as you just sort of bring up the score, like with doing all these great things, making her feel great, then all of a sudden she's going to be willing to do stuff she would have been never doing before. And both of you win here and both of you guys will get happy. And what you can then do is, with right now, the clear understanding you have in the beginning and making her feel great about the relationship, you can actively sort of make her love the things that you do to make her feel great, and you can steer her towards those. If she does anything slowly into the direction of what you like, say for example, you would like to have a more warm relationship with like less fights. If she does something like you leave your plate on the couch and she hates that, and she's like, oh, I left my plate on the couch, and you're like, oh, like, thank you that you tell me, I will try to be better at it, and I really appreciate it that you tell it to me this way, and this is absolutely wonderful. Like, I hate it that the neighbors are like always fighting over little things, and like we're having such a better relationship, and you make her feel great about the relationship, and now all of a sudden she will become less interested in fighting because it's not getting the results she wants. It's not making her feel good about herself, and now you can start steering her in the right direction. Pretty much by using the most standard, like reward her for doing great things and ignore her for doing bad things, or maybe like you can even like punish her a little. But I'm not talking about like actual punishment. I have to be really careful with this type of language. But maybe if she does something you do not like, you can tell her like, hey, I don't like this. That makes me upset. And that could be at that point make her feel like a little bit less good. So she's like, oh, maybe this is not the way to go. Maybe I should go into the other direction. And if you have the clear understanding where you want to go, then over time you will see that she will start going in that direction automatically, because both of you guys want the same thing, which is for both of partners to be as happy as possible you can be. And then the third thing is you must handle the conflicts perfectly. This is the point where, like, I'm not having rose-colored glasses thinking like if you do all these things right, like you will never get into an argument. But because there's sometimes, every once in a while, there will be something happening. And that's very often because you have a mistake, but we're all humans. And even if you know all these things, you still are going to make mistakes every once in a while. Maybe because you're busy, or because you're tired, or you like are a bit like your blood sugar is low and you snap a bit, or something like that. It happens. And when this conflict comes, if you can handle them properly, these conflicts are never going to be an issue. And the way to handle conflicts perfectly, like, I will not go too much in depth about it, but the most important thing you have to know is sort of imagine that a conflict is like a giant man running towards you. Just an incredibly, a giant man coming at you. And what most guys have a tendency to do is to like run straight into that guy. So they're trying to like have this guy that's coming running at you, and you're trying to run into the guy. Then everybody's going to get hurt. Both people are getting hurt, and you're only getting more hurt. If a giant guy runs towards you, excuse me, step to the side, or maybe stick out a leg or something. Or the one thing you just don't want to do is like trying to meet this force with force. So say, for example, you are at work and you have a crazy hectic schedule, and you have like meetings, and you're just running from place to place. You don't even have like time to eat, and you're just in meetings nonstop. And your partner texts you, and she texts you like, "Oh my God, like the kids were like such a disaster. They were like fighting all the time." And but eventually I sort of solved. I broke the peace between the two of them, and I took them for ice cream, and now they're fine. And you just, for some silly reason, hit that thumbs up button on your like text app, or you respond with like 2 letters, like okay. Now this woman sees that, and she interprets this as like, okay, you haven't even thought about it. To you, it meant absolutely nothing. She was telling you about the problem that was already solved, that didn't require immediate action from you. She was just letting you know, and you were like responding like, okay, I understand, and that's the end of it. But she sees this text message, and she gets so bothered by it, because she takes care of the kids, and you're not even appreciating what she does, and you're not even telling her that she did like a good job handling the situation. You never care, and you're always sort of like busy at work, and like after she did all these things with the kids, like at least you could say like, thank you, or something little, but just don't be like such a jerk about it. And she sits at home, and this happens maybe around lunchtime or something, and she sits at home waiting for you to come home. And while she's coming home, she's going to think about everything you did wrong, because that's women. Everything has to do with everything. So now all of a sudden she remembers like how you forgot to buy a gift on Valentine's Day, and how you still haven't finished the leaking sink. And she's just stewing in this. And to make it even worse, she's going to like pick up the phone, and she's going to talk to somebody. It might be her sister, her mom, or like another woman. And this other woman is going to agree with everything she says, because that's how women communicate. Like, yeah, I feel you. Yeah, that's horrible. It's so bad. And this woman is going to be so nice. She's going to chime in with other things she could say. So now she gets like extra ammunition, and she gets like extra fired up. And now you come home from work completely like an unsuspecting schmuck, having no idea what's going to come at you. You walk through the door, and she unloads on you. And at this point, this conflict is like a giant guy coming at you. But most guys have then the tendency to go back at it. So they're like, oh my God, I just responded with like 2 letters. Do you really have to give me like a 20-minute rant, and do you have to like scream and complain about me for just saying like, okay? And by the way, I was at work to pay for the house you live in, and to pay for the car that you drive in. And I was at work to make sure that nice pretty kid of you over there is like, do you know how the food gets in his mouth? So, and maybe I should have I will even give you that. Like, maybe I should have sent a bit of a better text message, but like, please come up. Can't you see you're like completely irrational and you're like overreacting, and like, let me check the calendar. Is your period coming up? And these guys get like into this argument because to them it seems completely unreasonable, completely unfair, totally over the top response. But the thing is, if you do this, if you handle a conflict this way, in other words, does it meet my logical standards or threshold for what a conflict should be, you're only going to make it worse because she feels like you're not understanding her, you're not listening to her. It's like, maybe I should formulate it, the same problem again. And like, maybe he understands it like that. And like, why doesn't he understand it? Like, maybe he doesn't even like care about me like at all in the first place. And this tiny little moment, this tiny little mistake grows into this huge conflict simply because you go at it. And the proper way to handle a conflict like this is to move out of the way. You're first going to let the big man run by. You're going to be like, okay, scream, I understand. You're upset. I'm sorry. I have been pretty busy, and you just keep talking to her, and you're sort of listening to what she has to say, and you just let her go, and you allow her to be irrational. You allow her to say like mean things that might hurt your feelings or that get like to your weak spot. Like, women sometimes have a tendency to do that, to like go to like the place where she knows it sort of hurts a bit. She'd be like, well, at least my ex-husband was like nicer than you, and you know that infuriates you. And you just let this happen, and then you're going to talk to her about it, and you're going to speak to her about it, and it's like, yes, I made like an absolute mistake here. I should have tried to handle this situation better, and I was really busy. It's not that I don't care. As a matter of fact, I really appreciate all the things you do, and you are right. I have been busy at work lately. Maybe we can sit down together and we can come up with like a plan, and you sort of give a willingness to solve the situation and get out of it. And in this case, you're sort of winning out of the situation that she will actually afterwards, and this is an interesting thing, after this fight, women feel more connected after a fight to you. She will be more happy with you. This way, the conflict will be solved in like 20 minutes, and you will not have the same conflict the next day. As a matter of fact, usually it gets like a lot brighter the next day. She's going to be a lot more happy because she showed a willingness to work on it. You might even get some like handy like tips on like how to handle the relationship better. And you are winning the argument, because even after all of this, even after you've done all of these nice things, then there is this tiny thing in the back of a woman's brain, and she will not admit it to you. She will take it to the grave. She will stick with it forever, even though it was her period and she had like 5 glasses of wine too many before the conversation even started. She will never tell you this, but back in the head, she knows she was being irrational. She knows she was being crazy. Once the emotions calm down, wear off the next day, she's like, I was very irrational. Oh, like, but he reacted really cool about it. He was nice about it. Oh, maybe he's like a really nice guy, and it was nice of him to handle that. And she can never admit that, of course, because human beings have a tendency towards pride. But she will at least sort of feel like, oh, this is a point for him. And now you've won a point, and you made it feel better about the relationship. And this point goes into the unbalance, which will help you get other stuff done from your list that you want to get out of this relationship, because she feels like, oh, if he's willing to move in my direction, I should take a step in his. And if you do these 3 things, you can pretty much lead your relationship anyway. Which brings me to the following point. Can you go to the next slide? It is there. And this is your cue.
Yes. So, now that you've learned all this, Tim has been teaching you about how to have a successful relationship. But Tim has so much more to teach. And me and him have sat down and put together 16 hours of content on exactly how women work, on exactly how a successful relationship goes. And we have broken that 16 hours of content down into 4 weeks of simple yet detailed, no filler, all actionable, life-changing content. We have made sure to cover every secret, every technique, every idea this man has on women. Secrets like the reason 90% of relationships are a non-stop train wreck of drama and carnage. Like how to put 80% less effort into a relationship while having your lady feel like you're putting in 500% more. The exact wording to say to convince any woman to get excited about a threesome or any other fantasy that you might have, even if you've been together for 20 years. Also, why women are so attracted to bad boys and how you can use that to turn any woman into a nymphomaniac while still being the nice guy yourself. And many more, too much to name. And we have put that all together into what we call the Dream Girl Formula, a step-by-step, almost done for you course on how to turn any woman into your dream girl. And that is by your own definition, whatever that means to you. And you're going to do that while at the same time making her happier than she's ever been. So that might sound crazy, but actually this course Tim created this course a few years ago, and he released it in Holland to the Dutch market. So hundreds of guys have actually already been through this course, tested it, and it's been improved from there. And me and Tim actually made this a little while ago as well. And we've allowed a small test group to go through the English version, and they've all achieved just unbelievable things. We'll look at a few of their testimonials now. So we have Ruben here. He says, "Hey guys, quick post from someone who followed the original Dutch version of the Dream Girl formula years ago. Relationships have become effortless for me and everyone involved. No more arguing and the communication is always good. But the game changer was how easy it was to motivate my girlfriend to do things she originally may not have wanted. Before the course, she hated reading and I could never convince her to go swimming with me. Now she reads as much as I do and we have a swimming workout program we follow consistently. Any resistance to cooking and housekeeping is gone too. I can't imagine going back to before I took the course. My relationship and life have become much easier. Can't wait for the new course. Tim always delivers." Guige says, "Hey all, follower of the original Dutch DGF course here. The course and all Tim and Charles courses have led me to great results in my dating and relationships. Some specifics. One girl I dated that I really liked dumped me, and I reacted as DGF advised. Some weeks later, she contacted me and really wanted to see me again. We have been dating since. Without DGF, I would probably have ruined this situation with her just feeling confirmed in her decision to reject me. Naturally, I don't want to see nor text her all the time. Thanks to DGF, I learned I can influence her need for my attention. Now I can contact her whenever I feel like it and not worry about drama for ignoring her or for the past few days." Okay, let's go on to the next one. Joss says, "The Dream Girl formula is awesome indeed. The course exactly explains how I destroyed my previous relationships and how to do it better the next time. It's as if Tim was there with me, so painfully accurate."
Maybe I was.
You make me feel like that somewhat times too. Yo guys, because all of Tim's courses, my life has totally changed. Sorry, this is Wim. There was something missing though. And with the Dream Girl formula, it's finally complete. Since I bought it, I'm literally 10 times as good with women. I know what they want and I don't need any weak tricks anymore. All props and thanks to Tim Veninga. Tim Veninga, still struggling to pronounce that after all these years. Changer of lives. Cheers, Wim. And now he makes a good point. This isn't cheap tricks. This is just comprehensive, detailed, exactly how women work, what they need and what they want. We're going to go through now and go through what you're going to get from this course.
Before we're going to go through that, there's one thing that's maybe good to tell. Like what we just have been speaking about is pretty much about like what to do. But this course goes even further than that. It goes into like how to do, and we sort of tailored it to lazy men, if by lack of a better word. Like we're not just going to say, like, I give the example of like putting a post-it note on your mirror or bringing a piece of chocolate, but in reality we created just entire long list of like exact nice things you can do. It's like it's completely idiot proof, if you like. It's really we're explaining to you like exactly what to do, just so you don't even have to put a lot of thinking in it. You can just sort of execute the steps, and your relationship is going to be better. So you don't have to be some genius or some like crazy mastermind. You don't have to be an incredibly smart guy to like be able to follow this course. It's like this is for the normal man just wanting to have a relationship and just wants answers. And this is how detailed we go in every step of the process to creating your dream girl. All right.
Okay.
Let's go through it step by step.
Okay. So module 1 of week 1, all about Tim and the incredible things he's done. He's it says here he slept with over 1,100 women, although actually that's a little bit low now.
It's a bit of a dated number.
Yeah. But so some of you, I haven't said this before, but I think it's a good point. So some of you may be looking at this and thinking, all right, so 1,100 women, what am I supposed to be impressed? And you can give me your input on this here. It's not just that you've slept with 1,100 women, but ever since I've known you, which has been years now, you've always had multiple ongoing relationships. And the thing about relationships is the majority of
and stable long-term relationships.
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
point, yeah.
But the thing about relationships is that they're mostly like these. If you looked at the timeline of a relationship, it would be like flat, and then there would be these blips, and these blips are important points of the relationship. But most of the relationship are these flat, non-important points. And some of the most important points are when you first meet a girl and before you sleep with each other. And then every now and then you'll have these blips. And you have put your relationships on steroids. And while most men will have experienced a few of these blips throughout their lives and in their relationships, if you looked at your timeline of your relationships, because you've slept with all of these women and because you've had these multiple long-term relationships all at once, it's just a set of constant blips of these really crucial, important points of relationships. So you just have got 50, 100 years worth of relationship experience with thousands of women, and you have mastered these extremely important points of the relationship over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's because I had like multiple girlfriends. Like,
yeah.
When somebody says like, "Oh, I've been in a solid relationship for 30 years. What can you tell me about relationships?"
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I had a couple of 100 years behind my belt.
Yeah.
So, but it's not necessarily something like. I know a lot of people also are going to look at this like, oh, you've been with all this women. Like, I don't even care about that.
Yeah.
And it's right. You shouldn't care about that. And it's not a normal, healthy thing to do. But also, like, after like the original craziness, I do live together with my with one of my girlfriends for years. I have a house and a dog, and I have a dog that needs to be walked, and I have dishes that needs to be cleaned. Thank God I have somebody for that, but still, like all this standard relationship stuff, I have been working through it. And what we're going to be talking about in this week 1 part of the course is it's sort of an introduction, but I think it's really important to give you guys like an insight to understand where I'm coming from. Because it's not that there's like right now in current day and age, it's not that there's like no information available. That's not the problem. The problem is finding the reliable information. And one of the things you do that is by identifying the source. And of course, it's not going to be a long story, but we're going to pretty much tell you like exactly where we're coming from. So you completely understand like how you can do the same way. If someone explains to you how he got somewhere, you can get to the same point a lot quicker, especially if you know the person. Let's get on to the next week.
Okay, module 2 of week 1, behavioral modification, how to train your girlfriend to do anything you want.
Yes. What we're basically going to do is I'm going to give you, in this part of the course, I will give you a breakdown on like how to modify the behavior of your girlfriend, of your partner. And I will give you a step-by-step explanation, like how to get her to do whatever it is you want. And then in the module after that, if you can go to that, we're going to come up with like specific examples where I tell you just from start to finish how to lead her to this process. So we're talking about making her exercise. We're talking about cleaning up the house, but not just about stuff like this. And it's also, you have to understand, when we name these things and when we speak about it, I have a habit of using the extreme ends of the spectrum. Like most guys like don't want to train their wives into like Instagram model / like housekeeper or something like that. But I'm just saying, like, if this is possible, you have to understand there's a range of things possible in between that are just as important.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next one. This is module 4. It's about back rubs. This is, again, we're still speaking about behavioral modification here, but it's like, if we're talking about other stuff, about other scenarios where if you want to give you more compliments or back rubs, or if you want to bring the passion back in the relationship, if that has become less, if you want to get her stop complaining about your drinking. I have an idea why I thought that was an important thing to mention, but let's not get into that right now. You can learn all these things, and we tell you exactly what to do in all these situations, and a whole lot other situations that we're not even mentioning here.
Yeah, it's like so we've listed like module 3 and module 4. We've got all these specific examples of how to do it, and it's not that you necessarily want these examples, these specific ones, but the more you see specific examples, the clearer the picture becomes of how to apply it to anything that you may want.
Module 5, apologies. I call this like learn about the matrix of misbehavior and apologies. What I'm doing here is I will pretty much give you like a blueprint to get away with doing something bad, like how to handle these situations, how to handle the situation properly so she won't hold it over your head forever. So if you do something bad, that she won't keep bringing the same thing up or get stuck or get like extra angry, but instead you can like diffuse the situation, and a situation that otherwise would lead to problems, you can simply like nip in the bud by a few tiny things to say and a few little changes in the way you interact with her, and it will make the whole world like a completely different place. Even stuff you would have never gone away with before, all of a sudden it will be no problem for her at all, simply because you know how to apologize properly. Then we're going to go to week 2. We're going to be speaking a lot about like handling like negativity in your relationships. We're speaking about the female drama blueprint. I explain to you exactly like how a woman works, like why she gets angry, why she nags, why she starts arguments, why she starts fights, or why she doesn't start fights, or why she doesn't tell you what's wrong. And we gave you like a complete overview in this week on the problems that can arise in a relationship, or the problems you might be having like right now at this moment that are endangering your relationship, how to handle those problems right now, because most people coming into this course will already be in a relationship and already will be problems, and that's where we will teach you here like how to deal with that. Then we're going to talk about drama strategies, and I'm speaking about the 4 ultimate strategies for dealing with conflicts and drama. There is a right way to respond to a certain type of conflicts. There are pretty much 4 types of conflicts that you can have with a woman. And for every conflict, you need a specific way to dealing with it. And if you use the wrong one, you're screwed. If you use like another like self-made up idea and you have never thought about it, you're screwed. If you sort of try to figure this out through trial and error, you might pick the wrong strategy every single time. But if you learn these 4 things, you know how to handle any situation where you would ever get stuck in a relationship. Anything that would cause you like suffering and pain and headaches will not be a problem if you know how to handle these things. Module 3, cheating. We're going to be speaking a lot about like women who are cheating, or maybe if you were cheating, and what you can do if she no longer loves you or has cheated on you. Some men might think that's lame, but like I totally disagree. Some men think it's sort of weak to forgive a woman who's cheating on you. But if you have a woman you love, or it's the mother of your kids, and it's and she has cheated on you, and you want to fix the relationships, here we give you the exact, literal step-for-step blueprint on like how to solve this problem right now, what to do after she has cheated on you, or what to do when she says she no longer loves you, or maybe somebody else. And you will know what to do, and you will know how to save your relationship or your marriage, and you can solve this problem. And I have a lot of respect for guys who do this. And I think if you love a person still, or if you think it's important to keep your family intact, more power to you. And I will give you the exact tools to use this. And they have been used by like dozens of men, at least that I know about, where everything will turn out fine and the woman never cheated again, and they ended up being happily ever after. And you will learn how to do the same thing. Hopefully you will never need it though. I have to take a sip, I'm sorry. Module 4, we're going to speak about commitments. We're going to talk about what to do when she has second doubts about the relationships, or she says she's not sure, or the other way around. If you're dating with a woman and she's pushing you to commit at a higher speed than you want to, or maybe you don't want to commit at all. Like, there are right ways to do it. There's a right way to have a woman who you just want to be like casual and have fun with, and she wants you to marry her to like handle this drama free and have her happy about it, and still keep seeing her on your terms without sort of having to commit in order to appease a woman and just ending up in situations where you don't want to be in the first place. We're going to week 3. In week 3, we're going to speak about how to keep her happy and loyal. And we're going to be talking about, maybe you can go to the next slide. We're going to be talking about cheating prevention here, and what to do to prevent her from ever cheating on you. And there's a lot more to this. Like what I talked to you about earlier in this webinar was about how men lead women to cheat. But even if you don't lead her to that, that's no guarantee she won't cheat on you. If you want to learn how to have a relationship where she will guaranteed never cheat on you, be loyal to you, even the dirty and exciting dreams she might have in the middle of the night will be about you, and how you can become really the center of her love and interest and affection, and pretty much her whole love universe will be surrounded about you, and she won't even think about being with another man. And the only thing she wants to be is she wants to be with you, and she wants to make you happy. And to do this, there's a way to do it, and it's not manipulative, it's not tricky, it's not even mean. There are a very few simple steps. We will give you like step for step how to do it, and you can do it easy and quickly. And once you do it, you will never have to worry about her cheating on you again. You never have to worry about her leaving you. You don't even have to feel ever like insecure about the relationship, or you don't have to feel the fear of like, what if something will happen and she will take my kids away or whatever. You don't have to, you don't even have to like compromise in arguments all the time, simply because out of fear that she might go and find somebody else and stuff like that. And this is a really important. It's like one of the most important points of this course is this part, because this is what a lot of men are failing at right now. Like people like cheating, like the infidelity statistics are right now through the roof, like especially in the Western world. It is unbelievable, and it's simply because men do not know how to do this. Men do not know how to keep a woman loyal. Like we used to have a strategy for it, which was sort of, if you leave me, like you are for your complete livelihood dependent on me as a man, and if you leave me, you're not going to marry another man. In other words, you're going to die. Now we don't have that anymore, and as a result, relationships are suffering, and like breakups are one of the worst things to happen to a human being, and especially if there are young kids involved. And there's a huge tragedy. And if you look at the divorce statistics, the amount of divorces that will come from people cheating on you is just, it's huge. It's one of the most common reasons for people to get a divorce. And maybe the relationship was already like messed up before, but cheating became the
straw that broke the camel's back.
Straw that broke the camel's back. And that is, it's so unnecessary. If you learn how to do this, you never have to deal with that. And that just this alone is like just as important as the rest of the course. And you absolutely want to pay really close attention to everything we're saying there. Then simply do it, follow the steps, and see how it works. And you can feel like safe that you have some sort of a guarantee or an insurance against cheating from your partner. All right, next. Module 3, we're going to speak about friends, like what to do if her friends are flirting with you, or what to do if her friends are trying to sabotage the relationships, or what if your friends are putting your partner up against you, or like what we're speaking about earlier, when they're like sort of encouraging her to like go and start a fight with you, and they're pretty much trying to light a fire on the relationship. We talk about anything friends related that might come up in a relationship. All right. Then week 4. In week 4, we're going to talk about the stuff that you care about the most. the stuff like
certainly what I dedicate most of my time to.
It is your life. You made a career out of it.
Yeah.
Like we're going to talk about the psychology of sex, and it's called How to Turn Her into a Freak. Again, you have to understand that we use the word freak for whatever it is that you consider a freak, whatever it is that you want, whether it is you want her to be more passionate about it, or you want to have more often sex, or you want her to do a certain thing you would like. You're going to understand the female sexual brain, and it will be taught to you in a very like politically incorrect, like uncensored way, in a way also you've never heard about this part before. But this is one of the parts that I know a lot of you guys are probably coming for this part, and it pretty much will give you will become sort of the conductor of your sex life. So instead of like, usually the woman controls the sex in the household because it's a supply and demand thing. Most of the times men want it more than women, or at least the men that come to our course, and you will learn to completely turn that around, and now your sex life can look any way you would like it to look, and you will be in control over what, when, how, in what position, and whatever outfits he's wearing. And the most dirty, crazy fantasies you think you have, I'm pretty sure I have a few more disturbing ones, and even those you can do with this. All right, next one. Module 2, we're going to be speaking about open relationships. I've been a bit on the fence about speaking about this because I know a lot of people are not interested in it. But just to make the course complete, and for the guys that really want to have this, I will be speaking about how to do it, how to bring up the topic, how to bring up the topic without offending her, how to bring up the topic in a way she will get excited about it, and almost in a way where she starts to think at the end that it was like her own idea and her own plan. This is for the guys who want that. But even if you're not interested in this, which I totally respect and I totally understand that point of view, even if you don't care about this, there's still a lot of things you can take out of this, a lot of principles about communication that can be super useful. So even if you feel like this is not important, like don't skip this part, because you will definitely like learn a lot of things that you can use in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Module 3, we're going to be speaking about threesomes and other kings' fantasies. We labeled it threesomes because sort of threesomes is sort of the common man's holy grail of sexual exploration. Like that's one of the craziest and most common fantasies to have. But we're going to speak about a lot more like perverted things, and we're going to talk about how to broach the subject, how to make her excited about it, how to make her love it, how to make her love it so much she keeps wanting to do it over, how to make sure she doesn't get turned on, how to break for herself like this mental barrier, this sexual prison. We're going to give you like step-for-step instructions, almost word for word to follow scripts, and it's in the most done-for-you way you could possibly imagine, how to go after every king of fantasy thing you would like your partner to do. And we'll teach you this in a way to do it that she will not think you're a pervert, she will not think you're creepy, she will not be turned off by it. No, she will be happy and thankful, and she will actually think it will make the relationship better, and she will get... You're giving her like this total new world, what we were speaking about, this limitless opportunities for you and both her, which both you guys can enjoy. And it's, I'm so sure you are going to love this. This is going to make your life so much better. It's like the stories you'll be telling on like a Friday evening in a bar are going to become like 10 times more interesting, and like all the other guys will be like full of jealousy with her. And a fun thing is like, if you ever decide to leave her for whatever reason that is, and if you ever decide to break up with her, there's no other man who's ever going to compare to you, not even with the wildest of imagination, because you have been sort of the first to like break these boundaries with her and to hold her hand while breaking those boundaries. And you're going to be so much more happy for it, and just this is just one thing you do not want to miss, and it's so powerful, and it's so easy, and you don't have to. If you're like right now worried about broaching topics of like difficult sexual things, or if you're right now maybe already like broached the topic once, and she said already like no to it, and she says no, I will not do it in a million years. Follow what we do here, and I will guarantee you she will be doing it within weeks. And then afterwards say like, why haven't we ever done this before? And they're like, well, it's your fault. Let's get on.
So, you've heard all of that, this life-changing stuff. So, how much do you think a course like this is going to cost? Well, if you've heard me introduce Tim in the videos I put out on YouTube this week, then you will know that just to get on a phone call with this man sitting next to me right here would cost you 1,250 euros. So to put that in perspective, if you were going to get on the phone with Tim and learn everything we had to teach you in this course, that would cost you 20,000 euros. Or if you're an American watching, that is 22,000 euros. And to be honest, I wouldn't have a problem charging you that, because when you think about what we've just spoken about, what the results that this course is going to get you, like, it's easily worth that. Imagine I could put those results into a pill. You could swallow it, and then you would get the results that this course is going to get you. So you swallow a pill, and then from that point on, any woman that you start to date becomes your dream woman. She loves you. She adores you. She dresses up for you. She can't get enough of you. When you're around other people, she's boasting about you. She wants to suck your dick all the time. She wants to have sex with you all the time. She can barely keep her hands off of you. She doesn't nag. She doesn't complain. She doesn't cause drama. She's just perfect in every way. And all you had to do to achieve that was to swallow a pill. I could charge whatever I wanted for that pill. I could charge $500,000 for that pill, and I'd have a a line out the door and round the street for people begging to get their hands on that pill. Well, I don't have that pill, but I have the next best thing. A step-by-step, almost done for you guide to turn any woman into your dream girl. Everything I just said, how to make that a reality easily, how to turn any woman into a chunk of clay that you can mold into any form that you want, while making her happier than she's ever been at the same time. But I'm not going to charge you $22,000 for that. I'm not even going to charge you half of that. I'm not even going to charge you a quarter of that. I'm not going to charge you 10% of what you would pay if you wanted to learn all of this from Tim over the phone. I am putting the Dream Girl formula on sale for $997. But it's better than that, because if you act now, the Dream Girl formula is on sale for 50% off. $500 off of that $497 price. Okay, give me 1 second. This always looks so much smoother. Okay, so there is the button next to me now. You can click that now and take advantage of this 50% discount. This is for a limited time and you are never going to see this again. But it's even better than that. We are so confident in what we have to give you, what we are teaching you in this course, that we are going to assume all of the risk on your part. We are giving you this course with a 30-day guarantee. You are going to be able to go through this entire course, test it, see how it works for you. And if you don't like it for any reason, you can just email me within 30 days and I'll give you your money back.
Yeah, we have absolutely no problem giving this guarantee. And the reason we have absolutely no problem to give you this guarantee is because we want this course for you. And let me be as honest about this as I possibly can be. It's like Charles came up with the idea. Charles wanted me to create this course, and I think it's at least fair to give you guys sort of a chance at it. And I totally believe in this, and I totally believe that everybody should have the opportunity to take advantage of this. And if money is going to be an issue, we're not going to be difficult about it. If you're not sure, if you're think that, look, yeah, maybe this is not exactly for me, we want you to go and try this course, try it out for yourself, see how it works, and be happy with it. And if not, both of us are going to be fine after this. If you're not happy with it, we're not that interested in it. I still totally disagree with the 50% off, by the way. I think that's way too generous, but that's your business. And we just want you to understand that this is 100% risk-free opportunity for you to go after. Let's go.
Okay, time for questions and our always clever answers. So
we can't do a webinar without at least giving people the opportunity.
Yeah. So I don't know if you missed the beginning, but hopefully you've been we've seen that you've been sending questions throughout. You can only see your questions, but we can see all of your questions coming in here. So I'm just going to look through the chat now and pick out some good questions regarding the course. Okay. So here, I am single. Is this course still useful for me?
If you are single right now, this course is going to be especially useful for you because it's going to be even easier. It's one thing to sort of change a relationship that has been 20 years in and bad behaviors has been formed. That's one thing, but that's a lot more difficult than just doing everything right from the beginning. If you do everything right from the beginning, you don't have to go out and fix all the problems that already have been created. You can make sure you don't make them. Also, if you are planning on to be in a relationship at any time in your life, this is the information you want to have now. And I think it's always better to like study before a test than after it. And for most guys, it will be like studying like after a test and getting good grades on the redo. But getting it straight right away is always preferable. Next one.
Okay, let me have a look here.
You have a hard time reading this.
Yeah, it's far away. Okay, this is good. Well, this actually isn't good, but this is a question. I am on the brink of divorce. Can you guys save me?
Well, first of all, I'm totally sorry that you're in this situation right now. That's a really sad situation, and it's I know it's really scary, especially if you're not the one who wanted a divorce. This course can give you a shot. Like a lot of people said, like my marriage was like down the drain. I always given up on it, and I've followed this course, and within weeks she went from like trying to pick out lawyers to all of a sudden like, oh, maybe we can give it another shot. And the stories of people getting their ex back or saving their relationship because of this, they're enormous ones. If we can save you personally, I don't know anything about your personal situation or what you're like going through. But if you're not like close to the end, if you're like not like right now a day away from like finalizing the paperwork, there's still a big chance. And even if you are a day away from finalizing the paperwork, you will still going to have some form of a relationship with your ex-wife, if there are kids involved or whatever. So if you, or maybe you decided to stay friends, and if you have any form of relationship between you guys still there, you can use this course to reignite the spark and the attraction that there was there in the beginning, and you can reignite her love for you, even if right now she's already seeing somebody else. She fell in love with you once, and you can repeat that trick if you do the things right this time. Next one.
I already have this one picked out. So, hi, it's Matthias here from Germany. Is it possible to follow this course from here?
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting question. This course is complete. I'm sorry, Matthias, maybe we haven't mentioned it, but this course will be completely, it's a video course. It will be completely online for you, so you can watch it from wherever you are. I don't know if people in Germany have like Wi-Fi. It's after all, it is the poor man's Holland. Let's be fair. But if you have internet wherever you are in the world, like you can follow this course. It's just so you don't have to be worried. Just click on the button next to this video. Like take advantage of this discount like right now, and you'll be totally fine. You will have access to the course within seconds. Wherever you are in the world, it doesn't really matter. Like the technology has made the world a lot easier. But I'm not sure if it was a silly question or that we just never mentioned it. Let's go on to the next one.
Okay, give me a second. All right, here we got, or maybe I shouldn't share people's names. Okay, I've been married for 16 years. Will your advice still work, or is it too late?
Yeah, I think we covered it quite extensively, like in the webinar. This was a question that was also like asked earlier, but yes, this will work if you have been together for already 16 years. Also, congratulations on already being together for 16 years. That's great, and it's absolutely a great way to like reinvest in your relationship and not just even make it as good as it was in the beginning, but like make it better than it ever was before. And I think it's a great accomplishment to be together for like 16 years, and I think you and your wife like would definitely deserve to like try to do this. And stuff that happened before and like mistakes you have made before, they are already there, but you guys are still together, and it can only like get better from now on. And I would totally just see this as like your future secret anniversary present that you're like buying for yourself and never telling her about. And you and her are going to be only the happier for it. Next one.
Okay. All right. Will this help me get my ex-girlfriend back?
Well, I think that's sort of a similar question to being on the brink of divorce. But if you're right now, like, if your ex-girlfriend is like not talking to you, blocked you on all media, and she got a restraining order against you, like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to like help you break the law. But if there is a normal relationship between you guys where you're like sometimes communicate, a lot of great things could be in there. And also, there's one thing, like, I don't know your situation. Maybe if you're right now in the situation where you just broke up and you're like heartbroken right now, I just want you to like right now just think for a second about your ex, about how miserable and how horrible you feel about the relationship going wrong. And even if this doesn't mean that you will get her back, and I know that's not what you want to hear right now, but even if it's not happening, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not going to tell you we can do things that we can't. Even if it's not happening, just think about how you feel right now. Do you ever want to feel like that again? And if your answer is no, and look, I know I've been lovesick. It's one of the most horrible like feelings you can have in the world. It makes you like paranoid and irrational and crazy and like sad and just angry. And especially if she's with a new man, like it's enraging. If you never want to feel like that again, then please do yourself a favor. Like strike the iron while it's hot, while you're feeling the way you feel right now, and use this as a motivation to start working on yourself, to start working on your relationship skills, and make sure this will never ever have to like happen to you again. So just please, like if I could like grab through the screen and like click your button, I would have done it. Like at this point, like click at this button, like right next to the webinar, and you will get like immediately access. And maybe it can save it, but if not, at least you will never have to deal with this like horrible pain in your stomach again.
Okay. Oh, this was a good one. James says, how long until I see results from this course?
I can give you two answers to that. Answer number one is like 5 minutes after, and answer number two is like 5 weeks after. Certain things are going to take time to change. Other things, like for example, like how to handle an argument, it depends on when's your next argument going to be. But everything about this course will be like this. There will be no such thing as like a learning curve or a trial and error or a long study period you have to follow. It's like we're going to go through this course in like 4 weeks, and after this 4 weeks, you will never have to like think and worry about this stuff again. But already from like week 1, video 1, you will have like hands-on tools that you can start using right away, the same day or evening, whenever you're around your spouse. Next one.
All right, let's do one more. All right, this is interesting. I just want a normal relationship. Will this help me, or is this just for guys who want this crazy stuff you guys are talking about?
Now, this course has been created with you in mind, not with myself in mind. Also, what I want is going to be different than what you want, and what Charles wants is going to be different than what I want. So I'm teaching you how to get what it is that you want. And especially, like I used a crazy example at the beginning of this webinar, like when I was talking about, like, imagine if you can get a woman to tattoo your name on her body. Now, imagine if that's the level of like power you can have over a person, how insane that example also is. Like, but even if it's totally insane, think about what you can do like in a normal relationship. This is, I know that 90% of the guys just want to have a loving, monogamous relationship with a partner who adores him, who loves him, who is happy to be with him, and he wants to be happy to be with her. Like, I know that's 90% of the guys. So we're talking about especially people like you. So we can speak about a normal relationship. Yeah, normal almost sounds like a bit boring, but I think most people want to have a normal relationship. That's what the word normal means. So that's also what everything in this course is built towards. And then we put some bells and whistles, because we also know like there's going to be some freaks wanting to get a little bit more, and we're also fine with giving that. But yeah, it's mainly designed so people like you can have a nice normal relationship. But if you mean with normal, unhappy, failing relationships, the 50% failing in divorce relationships, if that's what you mean, then all you have to do is not follow this course, be yourself, watch a little bit of Oprah, maybe she has something smart to say. Please be my guest. Maybe Dr. Phil can give you write a relationship book for you that says oh yeah, you have to communicate a lot. And yeah, you should still be nice to her. Maybe have a date night every once in a week. So pretty much the low-hanging fruit and the stuff you couldn't figure out by yourself, try to bring that into your normal relationship, and it's going to be a nightmare. If you want a normal, great relationship with no extremes or weird things in it, then this is the course for you. And I take almost a little bit of sadistic pleasure in the fact that 50% of the guys watching right now would end up getting a divorce if they do not learn this. So this small price you're paying for this course is nothing compared to the alimony you will end up paying if you're not going to follow this course. And maybe that's my evil brain thinking, but yes, by all means. And also let me remind you again, you have a 30-day guarantee, so you can just try it, change it, look at you. If you feel this is too extreme for me, or maybe you get annoyed by a shirt that we're wearing, we don't really care. It's not that we're going to eat anything less if you don't do it or anything. Some people have some money set away for a rainy day, but I'm better prepared than freaking Noah. I don't need you. And just the only reason we're asking for this is because we know if you make an investment, you're going to take it seriously. Nobody is going to work for free. None of you guys that are sitting there are going to spend all this time going to their boss. I don't know, if you work at a car wash, you're not going to go wash cars for free in your weekend. We're not saints. We're not going to do that either. But it's not even about that. So just go for it. If you just want a normal relationship, this is the way to go. Let's go to the next slide.
Okay, testimonial.
Look, this is a video from a guy. His name is Alex, and he's talking about how his life was before the webinar and after the webinar, just to give you an idea what is possible, what can be done, and maybe to inspire you.
Before the course and after the course.
Hey, how's it going? My name's Alexander, and I want to give a brief testimonial for Charles's Dream Girl Formula product. Before going through this course and learning the mindsets and behaviors that I was taught, I really struggled in relationships. Not only did I struggle to sort of create relationships, but once I would get into a relationship, even if it started out well in the beginning, things would quickly sort of devolve, and soon we would be sort of not as passionate with each other, or fighting, or and it just happened. It happened my whole life, and I never really knew how to do anything different. So this course, what it taught me how to do is it taught me how to basically be the man who I wanted to be in the relationship with my woman. So the problem that I had again was I just didn't know what to do differently. I thought I was doing the right things, and it just would lead to frustration and problems and breakups, or the girlfriend treating me disrespectfully, or just cheating on me, or just bad things. It would lead to bad results. So yeah, this stuff helped me to basically become the man who I wanted to be in a relationship, and in turn my girlfriend into a really sort of sweet, feminine girlfriend who wants to please me and make me happy, and like it's a whole different dynamic. It's much better. So the Dream Girl formula, it turned everything around. This is no joke, okay? I vouch for it. Okay, I put my name behind this. Okay, so that's it. Enjoy. Adios.
Okay, that was Alex. So now we're here. We're at the end of the presentation, and I think we've told you everything. Like we gave you the 6 mistakes that men are making. We gave you the 3-step formula, and now we told you everything about this once in a lifetime opportunity you're going to get in your life. And I like to use that word opportunity because I also want to make sure that you guys know that you don't need to do this. This is an opportunity that I want, and like I couldn't forgive myself if after this presentation I haven't at least given you the opportunity, made it as easy as possible for you. We've shown you the results. We explained to you what you are going to get, how you are going to get it. We simply gave you everything. And I would hate myself if I didn't explain it properly, or if I didn't give if I didn't give you the opportunity. But if you decide to like not jump on this opportunity, that's also going to be fine, because it's pretty much like this. We're ending here at a two-way street at this point, where you can make 2 options. One is you go for the road where you're either going to try and figure it out for yourself, and you're going to like struggle, and you're going to have like difficult relationships. You're going to be fine with the fact that half of the time it's going to fail, if it not already like has failed. You're going to take pride in this self-chosen life of mediocrity. You're going to do what everybody else is doing, what all the other men are doing. You can look at your friends' relationships and the people around you, and you can see people struggling and suffering, and you can join them. That's fine. That's the one option. And if you choose to not take this opportunity right now, that will be the option. And again, also, if you are not making a decision, that's also making a decision. That's choosing this option, and that's fine. Or you can go for the easy way. And the easy way is you click on this button next to the webinar, and you get everything done for you, and you will have a great relationship with a woman who loves you, who's loyal to you, who cares about you, who you have a wonderful relationship with all the great stuff that's coming with that. And it will be easy, and you don't have to compromise all the time, and you don't have to suffer all the time, and you don't have to like bend over backwards to make your partner happy. No, everything will be there for you, and you like never have to worry about it again. Or you can not do it. And if you not do it, it's okay. Doesn't matter. A lot of people are like really want this mediocre life. It's almost like they take like pride in carrying their own cross and like suffering and stuff, and that's also good. But it's also, if you're like sitting right now at this moment, and if you're going to be at your deathbed, the question is going to be, if I look back at this, will the answer to that question be, thank God, like I did this? Or will the question be, what you will be saying is like, thank God I did this? Or will you always be like, I wonder what if I did? I wonder how my life would have looked like if I jumped on this opportunity right now. And I know there are also a lot of Dutch people watching right now. Hallo, leuk dat jullie er zijn. And if you're wondering can I only pay with credit card or PayPal? It's like, no, of course not. If you click on this button, you will get the opportunity to use Ideal and Bankcontact and so forth. And we also accept all credit cards. So there's absolutely nothing that can stand in your way anymore. It's like you have the guarantee. You get this huge discount to take the opportunity right now. If you're not going to do it right now, you're never going to do it. That's like a certain guarantee. If you aren't able to pull the trigger, you're this indecisive, unmotivated, maybe even a bit lazy man. But even then, it's incredibly easy for you. You don't have to even think about this opportunity with all these options. And if you're not jumping on this opportunity right now, I don't know what else to say. You don't, maybe you even don't deserve to reproduce. I don't even know what is the point, because we made it incredibly easy for you. We sort of made it we spoon feed everything step for step to you, and the only thing sort of that can sabotage you now, the only thing that can hurt you now, the only thing that will give you a guaranteed way of having a mediocre life, a mediocre love life, and let's be fair, a mediocre level of happiness in your life. Because let's be fair, relationships are such a huge part of your life. Your wife is also going to be the mother of your children one day, or maybe you're older and you only you're 70 years old at this point right now, and you still have a lot of good years left with your partner. And how are you going to spend this next 10 years of your life? Will it be happiness and joy, or misery and suffering? And the relationship is going to make the difference, because the relationship is such a big part that if that's good, then you will feel more confident, you will feel more secure, you won't have to worry all the time. And if a relationship is bad, it is a cause of stress, it's going to make you suffer. So you don't have happy people in a bad relationship. There ain't no such thing. So you have to sort of decide at this point. Are you going to choose doing nothing, or are you going to choose to be happy? And whatever you're going to get, I think it's fair that you will deserve whatever it is that you're getting. So it's not to you to decide is this opportunity worth it to me? No, is this opportunity worth it to yourself? Are you willing to invest in yourself? Are you willing to be proactive, to be better? Are you a motivated guy? Do you want this? If you're that guy, if you're a man who's serious about his life, who's serious about being a man, and part of being a man is part of being a good husband, don't let anybody else tell you anything otherwise. If you really want to be that guy, we would love to work with you. We would love to see you in this course, and whatever it is that we can do, that's the part that will give us pleasure. That's the part we will enjoy, and this is the sort of guy we want to work with. And it's not up to us to decide which guy you're going to be. We don't know which guy you are. We don't know which one of the two you will choose. But it's very simple. It's almost made for you. You can click on the button here next to the video. Then you will go to a page which gives you a small explanation with some payment options. Choose your payment options. If you're using a credit card, you will click on the credit card button, you will fill out your credit card details, and within a few minutes you will have a password and a login ready for you, and your spot in the course is secured, and you had this discount, and you can get started right away. And if you're using any other payment method, it will be very easy on the screen, it will be very quickly, it will be smooth, and you can get started today with this course. But if you're like right now at this point, if you're like still here and you're like still on the fence, I'm pretty sure there's like something maybe what you're like a little bit worried about. Maybe it can be that you're like not sure if like we are the real deal, or you've tried a lot, or you became like disappointed and disillusioned with life, or maybe you're like a cynic, or you have a tendency to like postpone things or whatever. That's fine. But all I want you to think about right now is like, if you don't do this right now, then everything is going to be exactly the same. You're going to be doing the same thing as you've always been doing, and you're going to get the same results as you always have been getting. And don't be surprised if that is happening. You could have seen it coming. Like, if you're not willing to make a change today, to take action, to make a decision, to take the control back, to stop doing it guesswork, but instead use a proven system that has been working for hundreds of guys, like, and soon a few hundred more guys will be using this system in the world, and they will get everything, and you will be standing outside and you will be left with nothing. And that's not my fault. It's because you chose it. You chose not to do it, and that will be your life. And I don't want this to happen for you. I don't want you to end up left out and losing this discount, losing this opportunity, simply because you're too weak and indecisive to do it. So please don't do it to yourself. And if you do it to yourself, you deserve everything what's coming to you. So make a choice. What are you going to do? Are you going to go for the easy way, the done-for-you way, the proven way, the road to happiness, or are you going to do something else? It's up to you to decide who you're going to be. And that's where I want to leave the people with.
Okay, amazing. Thank you guys for joining. Click that button. I cannot wait for you guys to see what we have put together for you and to get the amazing success stories we're going to receive from this. So click that button. I'll see you on the inside. Thanks for joining, guys. We'll speak soon.